right, so let's dive. All right, so let's dive into something that's got a lot of folks talking. Pi Network.
Yeah.
We've all seen those headlines, right? Price predictions just screaming. $93.
Oh yeah.
Even $220 per coin. I mean, who would want to wake up one morning and just like find their Pi balance?
Yeah.
Has transformed them
Exactly.
into a crypto millionaire.
It's definitely a tempting thought. I'll say that. And the anticipation around Pi's mainnet launch is really fueling a lot of that excitement.
Right.
You know, that launch is often what kind of kickstarts those initial price surges we see with crypto. But you know, it's a real question. Are these predictions based on anything real, or is it all just hype?
That is exactly the question, and that is what we are here to unpack today.
Yeah.
So we've got some really fascinating research on Pi Network's potential.
Okay.
Our goal today is to help you kind of sift through all that noise, figure out if Pi is really the golden ticket to overnight riches, or if it's maybe something a bit more nuanced.
Right. And one of the things that really jumps out right away is just the size of the Pi community.
Oh, yeah.
And their enthusiasm we've seen with coins like Dogecoin, how much community-driven demand can really influence the value of a coin.
Yeah.
Sometimes even like going way past traditional financial metrics.
It's like the power of collective belief almost.
It really is.
But can that really sustain those sky-high prices that everyone's talking about in the long run? Or are we maybe looking at, a bubble?
Right. Are we going to see a crash?
That could burst.
Yeah. That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to really understand, the potential for those really high prices, we need to kind of dig into this idea of market cap, which is basically the total value of all the coins out there circulating. Think of it like a pie.
Okay.
Each slice is a coin.
I'm with you. I like pie.
Yeah, exactly. So the bigger the pie, the more each slice could be worth.
Right.
So our research actually has a good example of this. Let's just say there are 1 billion Pi coins circulating after the mainnet launch.
Okay.
And the price is $10 per coin. That gives us a market cap of $10 billion, which is already on par with some pretty big cryptocurrencies out there.
So to hit those $220 targets, Pi's market cap would need to be massive.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be rivaling like the giants of the crypto world.
Right.
And this is where things get interesting. Our source mentions that right now, about 3.14 billion Pi coins are kind of locked up.
Oh, wow.
They're not available for trading yet, which could really change that initial circulating supply.
Right.
And it's important to remember, market caps aren't just set in stone. They go up and down based on how much buying and selling is happening.
So even if there's a lot of demand early on, if people start selling their Pi, the price could drop.
Exactly. Supply and demand are huge here. And there are a couple other things that could influence Pi's value as well.
Okay.
Things like token burning and fractional trading. Have you heard of these?
I have. I've heard the terms, but to be honest, I'm not totally sure I understand how they work in practice. Can you break it down for our listeners who might be in the same boat?
Sure. So imagine token burning like this. You've got 100 cookies, but you decide to just toss 20 of them out.
Okay.
Now the 80 you have left, they become more valuable, right? Because there are fewer of them.
Right.
So token burning is kind of similar. They basically destroy some of the existing coins to decrease the supply, which could boost the value of the ones that are left.
So it makes them more scarce.
Exactly.
Okay, what about fractional trading?
Okay, so think about it like owning a piece of a really valuable painting.
Okay.
You might not be able to buy the whole thing, but you could buy like a share, a fraction of it.
Right.
Fractional trading with crypto is kind of like that. It lets people buy smaller portions of a coin.
So if Pi Network were to implement these strategies, it could push the price up.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But here's the catch. As of right now, Pi Network hasn't actually said anything officially about doing either token burning or fractional trading.
Okay.
So these are still sort of hypothetical scenarios.
So lots of what ifs on the table.
Yeah.
What if we shift gears for a second, though?
Sure.
And imagine a world where Pi is actually being used for like day-to-day transactions.
You're talking about real-world utility.
Yeah.
That is key for a cryptocurrency to have long-term value.
Okay.
Pi can really integrate itself into everyday transactions, in its ecosystem. Imagine paying for things with Pi.
Right.
That could be a total game changer.
Yeah, suddenly those $93 or $220 predictions don't seem so far-fetched.
Right.
If people are using Pi for their coffee or their rent.
Exactly. That kind of real-world use could lead to much more stable and sustainable growth. But, and this is a big but,
Okay.
Pi has to prove they can do what they're saying they're going to do.
Right.
They have to actually create a system that works, that's easy to use,
Right.
where using Pi for everyday stuff is actually practical and beneficial.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. You know, the hype, the potential for these high prices, this huge community, the dynamics of market cap, the need for real-world use cases. It sounds like Pi's future is full of possibilities, but also a lot of uncertainty.
That's a great way to put it. I think Pi Network is at a really interesting point.
Yeah.
They have a ton of potential, a really engaged community, and a lot of eyes on them, waiting to see what happens next. But it's still early, and there are a lot of unknowns.
So with all that in mind, let's talk about a realistic price range for Pi.
Okay.
Our research suggests kind of a cautious range to start out with maybe $1 to $10 per coin.
Yeah.
What makes that seem more sustainable to you?
Well, when you look at, the estimated supply right now, the number of Pi users who are active, and the fact that real-world adoption, it takes time.
It does.
That $1 to $10 range seems a lot more grounded in reality. It allows for that steady growth without just relying on speculation and hype.
It's like building a house, right?
Exactly.
You need a good foundation before you can start adding all the fancy features.
You got it. Building a strong, valuable cryptocurrency that takes time.
Right.
It's not about getting rich overnight. It's about creating something that has real value and utility in the world.
And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of Pi.
Okay. Their community, even if the price, doesn't immediately go way up to those crazy numbers.
Right.
The fact that they've built such a big and active group of users could be a huge advantage.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It makes me wonder, are there any examples historically of a crypto community almost like single-handedly driving a coin's success, even if the price stays relatively low?
Oh, absolutely.
Pi's story is still being written.
It is.
And it's a story that we as a community get to help shape.
That's right. So to our listener, we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Stay engaged, stay informed.